Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. Isn't that the sweetest sound? That's the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase. But I want to touch on something else. What is the difference between food sensitivity and food intolerance? Are we lumping them in the same bucket or they're different?
Yes, great question. Generally, we say oral intolerance, meaning you eat something and your body's intolerant to it. But there's different types of intolerance or sensitivity, if you want. And so one of them is just like you mentioned, gas, heartburn, bloating, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation, or the famous alternating diarrhea and constipation. That's a fun one. And so it could be you don't have enough of the digestive enzymes to break that down, especially around like milk sugar. Milk sugar is called lactase. The enzyme is lactose that breaks it down. If you don't have lactose, your body's not making it. Well, you have a hard time breaking that element down, and you will get gas and on from there. So that's one type of intolerance.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Reed Davis, board certified holistic health practitioner. And Reed and I are going to be talking today on the topic, the importance of food sensitivity testing to uncover hidden healing opportunities. Welcome, Reed.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Myrna. Pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you too. And I love your background. I know I'm in Florida and you're in Florida, but that beautiful background makes me want to go to the beach.
Very, very Florida, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right. Awesome. All right. So let me give you guys a little bit more information on Reed. As an environmental paralegal throughout the 90s, Reed was saving the planet, including the birds, bees, air, water, and trees. But in 1999, he turned his attention to what is the environment doing to people, including himself. That began a 20-year career dedicated to helping people find out what's really wrong and how to fix it naturally. After earning a certificate in nutritional therapy, Reed noticed that most patients had already seen multiple doctors and therapists and still had many of their original complaints. He decided that he would be the last practitioner anyone needed to see and became an expert in functional lab assessments. FDN is the result of more research and experience than most practitioners get in a lifetime. Reed Davis is also one of the authors of The Gap, Simple Ways to Reclaim Your Health and Reverse Most Chronic Diseases. This book is the missing link, the piece of the puzzle that holds the answers you've been searching for. It's a gap between chronic disease and your true recovery. All right. With that intro, let's dive right in. So, food sensitivity, Reed, as I was mentioning to you, is a new topic for the show. So, I want to spend a lot of time on there so that, my listening audience and those watching on TV would understand what this is. So, let's start off by the testing for it. What is a food sensitivity test and how does it uncover hidden healing opportunities?
Wonderful. Well, it's really important that you eat the right foods, and you'd be amazed at how foods can contribute to, I call it metabolic chaos, where people have problems. And so the testing is done quite easily with a blood draw. Matter of fact, the best lab we know of on the planet is in Florida here with us. And so we get a blood draw, we send the blood into the lab. There's some requirements, it has to be just right. But the lab will give us a report of what foods, whether you have eaten them or not, will contribute to this metabolic chaos. They create inflammation and it's measurable. It's very well known test. It's called a mediator release test. And it's a very special, refined type of test. Scientifically, it's almost infallible versus some other types of food sensitivity testing. So I might, if you want me to, go into that. But there's also antibody type testing, which are just not as accurate. And if you haven't eaten the food, the sensitivity won't show up. So in our practice, as we try to get people eating right, obviously that's what we try to do. There's a lot of song and dance around that if you want. But boy, if you don't eliminate these foods that are creating this inflammation, you're trying to walk in two directions at the same time. You think you're spending good money on organic this and organic that, and other ways of refining your diet, cutting out all the refined foods and seed oils and lots of ways to refine your diet. But if you don't get rid of these foods, which are likely only known through testing, then you could be struggling for a long time unnecessarily. I have lots of examples of when I first started over 25 years ago running this test and people would come in and they'd have these problems and no one else could solve it. And I always ran a number of tests on every person, but I would never leave that one out because just by getting off foods, I've seen asthma, ADD, ADHD in children, skin problems, migraine headaches, all kinds of things just almost disappear overnight by eliminating the triggers. So food sensitivity testing is very, very important to us.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, at one point in time, you know, I had this blockage um in my bowels, and they gave me this food sensitivity test to see what was if that was one of the reasons. And I don't remember it being a blood test. I think I went into some kind of a lab or something, or maybe I'm getting it all mixed up. Maybe that was emptying how fast my contents empty out of my stomach. But my interview that I just aired this week, I was talking to an epigenetic doctor, and he was talking about your kryptonite foods, which is basically what you're talking. Another beautiful way to label that: the foods that are kryptonite to your body and the foods that are good for you. And when he does the epigenetic blood draw, that's how they find that out too. But it's really interesting that people wouldn't think that your blood is able to give you food sensitivity. Can you elaborate on what's going on, how the blood is able to do that?
Well, the science behind it is pretty simple. The tests were developed a long time ago, and they've refined them since. But basically, you can take some of a little bit of your blood, expose it to these pieces of food, if you will, like whether it's carrots or apples, or it's called an antigen, and a piece of that food. Usually, it's refined down to just the proteins in that food. But you could take that and expose your blood to it. Now, your blood will basically, the white blood cells will start to release mediators, which are known to cause inflammation, prostaglandins and granulocytes and things that are known to trigger other downward spirals. Like, for instance, migraines. One of the first times I ran this test over 25 years ago, a lady she was unable to work. She was in a dark room with a pillow over her head about 5 days a week, terrible migraines. And I ran a number of tests, but this food sensitivity test revealed that she was eating on a regular basis foods that were triggering these mediator release mechanisms. It's just the way the blood system works. And it can only be found out through blood, this type of reaction your body can have. And so within just a couple weeks of eliminating that food, she never had another migraine. She reported to me that she says, "I've only having a few normal headaches." Now, I laugh because I don't think there's such a thing as a normal headache. Headaches
Yeah.
aren't normal,
Yeah.
but to her, that was such an improvement. She ended up being able to get back to work and lots of things. So very life changing. And that was when I was really just learning. As you said, I came from the field of environmental law, conservation, and that kind of thing. And I worried more about people. So I changed jobs. And the beauty of where I went to work was that they let me, just a layperson, run laboratory work under the doctors there. And so I just started, that became my thing that I did, laboratory. I ran thousands of labs on thousands of people over a 10-year period. And I recognized that food sensitivity testing was one test you never want to leave out. And I could just tell you so many other miraculous and heartwarming and stories that when I think about them, made me really glad that I started doing this and helping people. So yeah, food's unbelievable, and you'd never know what the food is if you don't test. It'd be very, very hard to do an elimination diet and figure this out. So that's the other way. You could eliminate each food one at a time and see if your migraines go away, or your psoriasis, or your eczema. I mean, I don't know if you want me to go on with that, or if you
Well,
have
it's
something else.
very interesting. Well, when you started talking, one of the first things that popped into my head was my daughter's eczema. And sure enough, you have to bring it up because, yeah, I mean, she's got bad eczema. And it's very, yeah. And I've never done a food sensitivity test. So I will definitely gotta get on board with that. But I can understand food sensitivity causing migraines. Once in a while I get this reaction where I have all kinds of gas, and my husband says, "Is something you're eating? What is it that you're eating?" So we all know that foods bring about this reaction, whether it's constipation, diarrhea, bloating. All these things have to do with your gut and what's going on in your gut. And we know that the gut is, they used to say it's the second brain, but everybody's saying now it's the first brain because that's where the food comes in, and food is what, is responsible for our life. But I wanted to get that in my understanding is how the blood is telling you what your food sensitivity is. So I'm glad that we put that extra layer where you said that it's not in the blood, but you just got to put the blood on these foods and see its reaction. Yeah, I'm glad I asked that because it didn't
Yeah, good
correlate
question.
with me.
Good question. And we can do now 176 different foods with this one test. So you draw some blood and you have to send it in overnight, special delivery kind of a thing, and FedEx takes care of it. The lab gets the blood from the FedEx shipper um, every morning, so they're getting it fresh. They need fresh blood, and then they have their machines and they put all this stuff together, and they give you a report on 176 different foods. And I must add that no one eats 176 different foods. We probably eat 35 or 40 foods, most of us. But there's just so many people, so many diets. You need to cover a lot of territory there, and they're categorized. Even the condiments, spices, and additives, the things you might use in the kitchen. And then there's the fruits, and there's the vegetables, and there's the fats and oils, and then there's the meats and the dairies and grains and all that. So it's all categorized, and it tells you which ones you're sensitive to and even gradiating the most sensitive. So, and they put those in red. And then there's like, well, you're sensitive to these ones too. That's in yellow. And then there's the green ones, which you're generally considered not sensitive to, or they're not really causing much of that blood reaction. And so that's what you would eat. You would just don't worry about the ones you can't eat. Just you might see something on there you really like. It's really sad for people if it's something like beef. And there's good news. If it's something you really like, you only have to get off it for about 90 days. and we'll see how the body heals. And then, like you said, the gut, can often these things are interfering with your healing.
Yeah.
And so, after 90 days, we can start to try to reintroduce it. You can always retest as well. But it's better, rather than focus on what you cannot eat anymore for 3 months, look at that long, beautiful list. There's going to be 140 foods, 50 foods.
You need, right. Yeah.
So that's your shopping list. That's your and it's fun. You create new recipes or whatever it is you want to do with these things that are good, that you can eat, and then you see how your health improves in terms of all kinds of things. Do your main symptoms go away? That's a possibility. I could explain how that works, and then you got to put it in there with not just diet, but with getting a good night's sleep, rest, exercise, reducing stress, taking supplements is all important. But man, eliminating those foods is really magic.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Let me tell you about a cellular service that's saving me money every single month, and that is Mint Mobile. I switched to Mint Mobile a few months ago, and honestly, I wish I'd done it sooner. But we were locked into a plan paying over $100 per month. With Mint Mobile, you get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. Yeah, you heard that right. With unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G network. So, this summer, say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. For a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling, literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer in your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/transform. That's MINTMOBILE.com/transform. Note, upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I've been an entrepreneur since the early 90s, even winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award. But when I first thought of starting my business, I had the passion and the vision, but zero clue where to start when it came to selling online. This is where Shopify can help. Shopify helps you set up your digital storefront. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Drew House to brands just getting started. Whether you're selling physical products, digital downloads, or services, Shopify has everything you need to launch, manage, and scale your business. Shopify is also packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify helps you transform your business with expertise in everything from managing inventory to processing returns. So, if you're ready to sell, you're ready to Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/transform. Go to shopify.com/transform. I can imagine. Like I use the term kryptonite food. That's amazing. But I want to still drill deeper into this one. So a lot of times people think that the biggest food sensitivities are like gluten and dairy and the lactate and the milk and all that. In your experience, do you find that those are the worst, food sensitivities, or there's things that people are missing, like you talked about going all the way down to the spices? Um,
Yeah, good question. And the answer is that it depends on the person. We're so metabolically individual. What you mentioned are the usual suspects,
right.
not in terms of how um, highly reactive you are, as much as they're just the most common. So the big five would be, of course, gluten, or the grains, dairy, eggs, soy, and eggs, soy, dairy, eggs. So dairy, grains and dairy would be the big two. Then you got soy, eggs, and no, the last one skipped
My
my
last one, right? Okay.
But yeah, and you could just get off those five.
Mhm.
Well, then what if you clear up a little bit,
Right.
you know, but not all the way? Well, that's what the test is for.
Right.
Because it could be, believe it or not, it could be carrots. I mean, it's amazing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it would get off. I need to clarify one other thing, and that is that how better will you get if you get off these foods you tested for? Obviously, I like to mention the kind of miracles where it was just that was it. And this one lady came in our office a long time ago. This is when I was learning, and she was complaining. I could just tell she was sad. She was coming in for chiropractic. We were doing pain of her neck and back, and I could just tell she was sad. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Oh, it's this weight. I'm 40 pounds overweight, and it's because of this medication I'm on
Right.
for the hives." So she was getting red blotchy hives on her skin, and she was on medication for 2 years, and it had made her gain 40 pounds. So I'm always trying to be helpful, and I knew a few things even back then, but nope, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. She was determined to tell me the whole story. Read it's this weight. I'm 40 pounds overweight because I'm on this medication for the hives. And, she went to the doctor just a few days before that and complained to him that this is so frustrating being overweight because of the medication for the hives. He told her, she relayed to me, that lady, you can be fat or you can have the hives.
That is funny.
But at the time I couldn't laugh, but I thought, well, that's pretty horrible. No wonder you look so sad. And she says, well, Reed, she goes, I told him how depressed that made me. And his answer was, well, I can write you a prescription for antidepressants.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, they always like to go to their pad. Yep.
Well, she had hives. Here's the prescription.
Yeah.
Makes you fat. Well, and that's depressing. So, well, here's something for your depression. And so that system never appealed to me. I never really got involved in it. I'm not a physician, so I have a doctorate, but not that type, medical. And so the when I finally said to her, Myrna, I said, "Well, first name, why didn't you ever try to find out why you get the hives?"
Yeah.
What a
Because
concept.
the hives are allergic reaction. You're right.
Well, the reaction, it may not be a true allergy, but because there's different types of reactions. That's why we use this particular test. But when I said, why didn't you ever try to find out why you get the hives? Her head snapped around so hard, I thought, oh, you're not going to need your chiropractic treatment. Her head just snapped like this. And I said, yeah, you could get this, run some tests and find out. So sure enough, just like so many other cases, do the test. She's got sensitivities. She got off those foods. With her, it was like eggs and a couple other things she was eating every day. And within 9 days, she told me,
Rid of the hives. Yep.
called the doctor and said, I'm not taking that medication anymore
Yeah.
because I found out why I get the hives. What a
Yeah.
concept, you know. And within another couple of weeks, she was losing weight and she was taking hot showers and working out to a sweat. I said, "Well, big deal. What's that mean?" She goes, Read, in 2 years, I haven't been able to take a hot shower or work out to a perspiration because even on the meds, I got the hives." So you talk about a life-changing thing that
Yeah.
I look back and boy, was she happy. And I was happy because I thought, I'm actually learning how to do this kind of work. And it was a beautiful thing. And many more cases like that. My point is this: with her and her hives, the food was the main contributor.
Of
That
course.
was the trigger because you could take another person with migraines or the hives or whatever it is and run a food sensitivity test, and you don't get as good results. Why is that? Because the food was only part of the metabolic.
Okay, part of the problem. I got you.
Yeah, so, and
But you know,
yeah,
those two, I'm no doctor, but those two, that's the first thing I would look at because we know that something is giving you migraines, right? And it would make sense to look at the foods and hives. To me, it's a reaction. But you know, there's probably some more subtle things, like you mentioned, things like eczema, or psoriasis, or those things that you don't automatically think that it's food generated, right? So, but yeah, that but those are good. In fact, I'm listening here and I'm thinking that I need to go take one of these food sensitivity tests because I think that I took one, we're both talking about that we're from Canada. I've been here 20 years, 25 years actually. And I think that my food sensitivity test was back then. I don't remember the reason, but I have not done it in a long time. So, and my daughter with her eczema, then definitely I will definitely tell her to go take that because she's never ever really taken that. But I want to touch on something else. What is the difference between food sensitivity and food intolerance? Are we lumping them in the same bucket or they're different?
Yes, great question. Generally, we say oral intolerance, meaning you eat something and your body's intolerant to it. But there's different types of intolerance or sensitivity, if you want. And so one of them is just like you mentioned, gas, heartburn, bloating, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation, or the famous alternating diarrhea and constipation. That's a fun one. And so, so it could be you don't have enough of the digestive enzymes to break that down, especially around like milk sugar. Milk sugar is called lactase. The enzyme is lactose that breaks it down. If you don't have low lactose, your body's not making it. Well, you have a hard time breaking that element down, and you will get gas and on and on from there. So that's one type of intolerance. It's just
Okay.
digest. No, the type we've been talking about is more of an immune system. Your body just has become sensitive. They could be inborn, but generally they're gathered over time. These insensitivities from other dysfunction in your body. That's why we don't only look at food sensitivities. Although I'm sure some people have made their careers out of it. It could be hit or miss, as I alluded to. They could get miracle, I got migraines and, oh, they're gone. Miracle, right? But what if they're just, well, you only reduced them halfway.
Mm.
You still have a problem. And that's a great thing that, well, food contributed enough. Well, it could be environmental contaminants and pollutants. It could be radiation. It could be electromagnetic frequencies. There's so many things you talked about the epigenetic factors earlier on. There's so many things that affect us. They just have an effect. And so if someone's migraines or problem is the result of just one of those effects really triggering it, you nail that thing down, you got a miracle. But what if it's a combination? And that's why as health detectives, our job is to find out multiple, as you said early on, healing opportunities, multiple, I call them contributors to metabolic chaos. It's basically a way of saying stress. There's stress. You've heard that term before, right? Is your audience heard?
Yeah, we can put it definitely. It's stressing out your body eating these foods, right?
But there's so many different, so food could be a stressor, and other things in the environment in your life can stressors, they create imbalance. I could explain exactly how it works hormonally, immune system, digestion, detoxification system. So these systems that need to be, I mean, they're designed really well. We don't think God left much out when he, designed cells and organs and tissues, and nothing for us to figure out, but it's the environment that it kind of gets in the way of those things operating the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, amazing. Wow, I'm liking this conversation. I'm learning already. So all right, so let's say that we talked about the hives, we talked about um um you know the what you call it, the migraines, and we also talked about eczema and those type of things. But these are, those are, big responses. What are some of the signs that we know that we have food sensitivity? Like me, I know that if I'm, I got all this gas, then it's obviously something I'm eating, and I'm say, well, it's the same thing I eat all the time. But sometimes it gets worse, and sometimes it doesn't. But if someone is listening and they want to know if they should go take this food sensitivity test, what are the signs that they should look for?
Yeah. Well, I hate to sound salesy, but if there's anything that, if there's anything about the way you feel or look that you're not happy with, that you'd like to change, you want to start figuring out what are the underlying causes, conditions, and why you feel that way or look that way. And you want to change it. So you have to be motivated, first of all. But I just wouldn't leave that test out. I would say food sensitivities. We always check the hormones for imbalances. We look at the immune system for over or underactive, and
Yeah,
look
the
at
thyroid,
digestion.
right? Yep. Hmm.
Oh, there's about 5 tests I run on every person because it's not good to guess.
Right.
We say test, don't guess. Like, so it's a very well developed methodology. It took me 10 years in an office running thousands of labs on thousands of people. And finally, after 10 years of that, I started teaching because they kind of made me. Um, no, I love it. I have taught 5,000 practitioners around the world and all this stuff. But I really just only developed the system for my office, just for me in my office. I just wanted our patients to be happy and healthy and experience joy and get rid of their problems. And so, but then people made me realize that, Reed, if you're having such great success, think of all the people that could get helped if you would teach other practitioners your methods. And so that's what I've been doing since 2008, and it's grown tremendously. But it comes back to that idea of people have been to physicians or practitioners of some sort, and they're still not better yet. And as an advocate for humans, and by the way, the whole planet, I like dogs and cats too. But people pay more than dogs and cats.
You sure? But the dogs and cats have owners that pay too.
You'd be really surprised. I know, yeah. So is that I wanted to help people, and I just came out of one field into this working with humans, and realized you had to test. And there was technology. It was considered alternative in its day. But here's my point. A lot of people came in confused because they'd been to 3, 6, 9, 12 different practitioners and weren't better yet. And I thought that was a ripoff because I was healthy. I'd never really been to the doctor except for some sports injuries, a couple motorcycle accidents, and some dental work, but never for a chronic condition of any kind. And so I didn't know what they were. And I go, what do you mean? You've seen 6 people? You're not better.
Hey, that matter. Yeah, yeah. When you say that, it puts me into the mental health space, because that's what happens with mental health. You just keep going, going, and going, and you never get any relief. But you would think that if you've got but I think when they put the word chronic beside it, they're saying that it's forever, and that's why people buy it. But anyway, keep going.
Don't buy it. Don't buy it. So I learned that lot of these people, as I said, were very frustrated, going and trying one thing after another that wasn't working or not working well enough. And it was because they've been told in many cases, nothing's wrong with you. You've heard that, right? Well, your blood work looks normal, so just try to diet and exercise, or something. They give a nod to lifestyle, but not much else. So the labs we were running that I learned to run were all considered alternative, and some of them still they aren't paid for by insurance. Therefore, it's out of pocket. Therefore, you have to learn to invest in your health. And at my age, I'm 72. There's nothing more important to me than my health.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to
Very
stay
true.
around. 42, I was still kind of, business and work, and I had kids in sports and, all this stuff. Matter of fact, that's how I got introduced to this wellness center. Was my high school athlete son was going in for chiropractic and wellness, and I was listening to the doctor. I go in with him, and I was a coach too, and I wanted to learn, and I switched careers because of it. I left one field. I said, I'm going to come to work for you. And I got a bargain, let me tell you. But so did I, because I got this new career, and now they'll have a whole different mission in life, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that mission. Yes. You know, this is basically the message that I'm trying to put out to my listeners as well. Health span. And I started on this health span journey when I read Dr. Peter Attia's book, Longevity. And he talked about something that's called medicine 2.0 and 3.0 and all that. And whenever we are in something that can help, the insurance don't pay for it. They just want to pay for, he calls it medicine 2.0. Okay, you got diabetes. I'm going to give you something for diabetes. But they're not in medicine 3.0 where how do we prevent the diabetes? How do we prevent the hives? How do we take this food sensitivity test so that you can have a better experience in life? They don't pay for any of that stuff. Almost all the people that I bring on in this alternative health space, insurance don't pay for it. You got to get down on your own little pocket and pay for it, which is terrible because nobody is telling them that, if you like a company, when a company invests in technology, it's because it's going to save them some money in the future, but you're investing, but they don't want to invest in people. So yeah, I mean, hopefully labs are not very expensive so people can, go ahead and get these and get these things. Um, so, yeah, you started off talking about your Functional Diagnostic Nutrition company. Um, uh, Tell us about your company and who you are and why you make an impact.
Well, thanks for that opportunity. And I'll say, yeah, see, we got the
Oh, I see that. They have the answer, right?
you've made it when you have a shirt with your name on it, your company.
Yeah,
This was after, when I first started teaching, I'm going to answer your question, but when I first started teaching, I was just figured I'll teach you what I do in my office that works. Like we get great results, and that's why I was pushed towards teaching, mostly by the lab directors and scientists. One of them called me up one day and said, "Reed, who are you, man? Because you run more labs than any 5 doctors combined." And I just said, "I don't know, man. I just love doing it, so I don't know." He
you got
says, "Whatever you
class. Yeah, yeah.
should be." We should
They're great diagnostic tools. Everybody should be running them, right?
Yeah, and well, yes, they are. And not a medical diagnosis, but they're diagnostic in that you're finding out what's really wrong with the person, which was my whole approach anyway. And I wanted to address too what you said about insurance because, same um, uh, back then as it is now, a lot of it's out of pocket. It's just considered alternative, unproven, and that's all nonsense. Insurance companies have to make a profit for their investors, and so they provide algorithms or blockages. Really, like there's gatekeepers that say no, you can't have that, and it's not the cheapest thing, or it doesn't fit in with the uh, big white coat medical system and all that, and so they just don't pay for it. But people are willing to pay out of pocket. Also, I think it's important people learn, if you have health insurance, you can also get a health savings account,
Right.
and you pre-tax dollars. So there are some ways to kind of help you get through some of the ouch of paying for
Expensive.
labs.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so we worked, along those lines. But the again, I taught my first class in 2008, and I thought, okay, now go forth, multiply, good luck with that, basically. And they wouldn't go away. They just they're like, no, read, but read, what about this and what about that? And so I had to not only show them which labs to run, how to apply that data to an individual. We call it clinical correlation. How to make sure the labs aren't just spending money and that we're not treating the paper. It's how do those labs explain what's going on with an individual. That's really important. A lot of doctors run labs today, and like in functional medicine, they're just treating the paper, as you said. This is high, this will lower it. Take this, it'll lower it. Or this is low, here, take some, we'll raise it. And they're trying to get the paper to look right without really correlating to that person. Exactly. Now that's, to us, very critical. So that's what I taught. They wouldn't leave me alone. So I formed a alumni group to continue to nurture and support all of the students and graduates. So when you take my course, I can teach you in 10 months roughly, because it's self-paced. It's almost all online, plus your appointments with your mentors, because everyone runs the labs. So if you take my course, you're going to run 5 labs on yourself, and you get mentorship, and you're going to work on your own health, which a lot of people say that's worth the price of admission. But the fact that you get to learn how to do this as a profession, whether it's new to you or whether it's adding to your current profession, it's a very beautiful thing. So that's the business, really, is teaching practitioners and even new practitioners. It's a whole system, so you can learn it from start to finish. It's all and I could teach you in 10 months what it took me 10 years to develop.
Yeah, of course. Yes, that's why
And,
people
and
pass on their knowledge. It's faster for the person that's reading or learning because you already did all the trial and error. Right.
and it's been in 10 months. I compare it now. I see other programs out there that you might say are comparable. I don't think they're as in depth. I don't think they're as practical. I think they're way too theoretical. But they're 2 years or 3-year programs. Some of these naturopathic colleges and programs are 2 to 3 years and anywhere from $25,000 to $65,000. Mine is just a fraction of that, 10 months, and you'll know everything you need to know to do what I did in the office for 10 years, and have obviously kept up to date and moved forward. So it's called, I just needed a name for it. I called it Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. It was pretty cool, I thought, when I came up with it. And now it's we're kind of stuck with it, really. But it is a form of intelligence gathering. Like, we run the labs, we get the data, get the intel, then apply it to that one unique individual. If someone says, "Hey, Reed, what do you think of this test result?" I'll say, "Well, whose test result is it?" That's the most important thing. And along the road here, I spent 10 years working for one of these labs, very part-time, as a clinical advisor, where doctors who were learning this wanted to, they were using that lab, and they wanted to get a consultation, and they would endlessly, I want to say, not frustrate me, because I'm too cool for that, but they would sort of, I'd go, "Oh my God, here's another one saying, hey, tell me what to do with this test." And I was asked them, well, who's the person?
Right. I get you.
And they're male, female, and the age. I didn't know anything else about the person. Well, tell me what this person's main complaints are. How long has it been going on? What have they tried so far that hasn't? So I want to get to know. They didn't have time for that. They just wanted me to tell them what to
The
take.
paper, right? They're working on the paper just like the doctors, right?
I said,
Yeah.
this don't work that way.
Right.
You got to get that
Well,
person.
even your regular doctor don't work that way because, I remember speaking to the doctor once and he tells me that they can only spend 7 minutes. So they go in there, rush. They don't want to hear all that story. What have you tried that hasn't worked? What is the problem? They go in and you say, well, doctor, I got this pain here. And that's all they want to talk about. Right? So yes, it's very good.
It's a different backyard, different
Yeah.
sandbox, and you might need both. By the way, let's give doctors their due. If the downward spiral is really contracted, you're dying. Need a doctor because they got really strong medicine, and they can go in there and stop a downward spiral depending on what it is. Intervention. They're heroic. They're very
Hey,
independent care, and these ideas of, well, you better go see a doctor. If you're bleeding, you got to stop the bleeding.
right.
What if
That's actually a very good way of making the difference. Right. If
Yeah.
you've got a heart attack, if you're dying, if the whatever, then the doctors are there. But one of the reasons that insurance don't pay for preventative, right? They're not interested in testing to see what foods are causing the problem. How do you can, advance your health span and not your lifespan? Right. Because all these things they're saying you're right are not proven, so they're not going to pay for it. But yeah, so that's really the difference between what you do and what the other ones do. Preventative, right?
preventative and longevity is you're better off in our backyard.
Right.
Because that's what we teach you is here's the things that you could tune up. Here's the labs. They identify the healing opportunities. Your hormones are out of balance. Your immune system's overactive. Your digestion isn't working. You're not breaking down and absorbing your food. Your detoxification system is clogged up, and other things. And here's how you can fix it. And not only will that fix it over time, if there's time, if the downward spiral is just kind of chugging along, that's the time to get us to help you with identifying those things and giving you the lifestyle that will become your prevention and longevity program. It's the same, but you can live yourself out of the problems you've lived yourself into.
Yeah,
Right?
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, people say that even at 70 years old, you can change. Like you said, you're 72, you didn't start now. But if someone is listening to this and they're 72, they can change. There's never expiration date on changing and making a difference to stop.
Yeah.
I like what you said, the downward spiral.
Yeah, my mom's 95 and she's still poking along. She lives around the corner. That's one reason I moved to Florida. And my sister lives around the other corner. So now we're all kind of helping my mom and stuff. And she's on some meds, I gotta say. But she tries to live right too. She eats well. She doesn't eat any junk at all, none. Unless she's cheating behind her back. We don't know for sure.
You don't need to cheat at 95. You want to get to that 100 mark.
As far as I'm concerned, she should just be having the best time she could possibly have. Not that long, whatever it is, and I don't want to know about it.
Exactly. That's amazing. All right, but you mentioned a course that you're teaching practitioners. So if someone like me that's not interested in taking your course, but just want to take these tests and have you look at them for us, how do we do that?
Sure. Well, anybody can go to our website, which is fdntraining.com, fdntraining.com, and there's a menu in there for practitioners who I've trained, and you could find a practitioner that I've trained. I don't have any control over which ones signed up to be on that list, but there's some good ones on there for sure. And
Okay.
you could find one that looks, pick a couple, talk to them. They'll talk to you for free and just see if that's someone you'd like to work with. They're going to ask you some tough questions. You're going to have to identify for them your main complaint. They don't want to at first listen to the whole story. It's like, if what's the main thing about the way you look or feel that you want to get rid of?
Right.
Migraine, uh, indigestion, bad skin. I'm overweight and I'm tired all the time. That's two, but you go together.
I like that.
So low, just whatever it might be. Say, okay, and, how often does that bother you? And if it's frequent, then we might be able to get some. How long has that been going on? Usually, it's been 6 months to 10 years. Who knows? Could be a long time. So, what's your main complaint? How often does it bother you? How long has it been going on? What have you tried so far that hasn't worked? Because we got to get to know you. And, where the most important thing is, well, what if we get rid of this for you? What's this going to mean to you? Because we got to know your motivating factors. And well, what's it going to mean if you don't get rid of this? The motivation.
Sounds like you're doing life coaching.
It does include life coaching. It includes life coaching. And we talk about what would stop you from completing a program if I took you on. So we're interviewing our client as much as they're interviewing
Oh, yes. Wow.
if they're successful. Yeah, we want to take on motivated people who have reasonable expectations are going to be successful, or we wouldn't take your money. You're going to pay us a fee, a professional fee, and then you're going to pay for the lab work. And
Right.
these things can add up a little bit. Some of my FDN, we call ourselves FDNs, FDN practitioners, or FDN professionals, and some are very experienced. A lot of them kind of niche towards one particular set of problems or another. We have them that just work with kids or work with just menopausal women or whatever it might be, all kinds of, a lot of gut specialists kind of, I don't like the word specialist, but you know why they picked that thing, Myrna? Because that's what they came to us with. That was their problem. And they searched for years trying to get rid of that problem. And the only thing that helped them was FDN and the training God, and now they can help others with that same issue.
Of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're
Yes.
they're earning a decent living doing what they love doing.
And helping people. Right. They have the personal experience. Wow. Wow. Awesome. All right, Reed. Well, this was a great conversation. I will definitely check out the practitioners that are in Florida and get myself some information on that. Awesome. So we got your website, fdntraining.com. What are your social media handles?
Oh, I'm kind of like, to me, high tech was pagers and fax machines. So we have everything. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and other things, Substack and whatever. But my marketing people do that, so
Okay.
I don't do that.
I know you're on there because I checked that before.
For your website, you have to scroll to the bottom of the website.
And it will have the link, right?
What's it? Not knowing them and having them prepared for you, but my mind just doesn't work that way really well.
That's
Yeah.
all right. That's all right. I mean, you wouldn't know how many times I interview people and I ask them this at the end of the show and they don't have it because they're not on there. But yeah, I live on Instagram and Facebook, so that's one of the things that I ask because yeah, when I post a marketing clip of our conversation, then I tag you, but it's probably under your company name at the end. Right. Yep. Yep.
A lot of times it's FDN training
Right.
/ something like I don't know, but FDN training. Reed Davis, you can look me up. But that website's got those links, and I hope to see you. Matter of fact, I'll try to follow you because I do. Now I'm just getting used to Instagram doom scrolling. This is
Please do. Please follow me. Yes, yes.
I'll
Right.
I hope to see you on there right away. Thank you so much. I hope people got a little something out of it. And
Oh yeah, this was this was a great conversation, and I got a lot out of it, and I know that my listeners got a lot out of it because yeah, what we're saying is that I mean, there's a and like I said, my interview that came out today that while we're recording, our interview is not going to air for a couple of months, but we're talking about the same kryptonite foods based on lab work, but epigenetic lab work. And this doctor talked about how his mom, he put her on foods specifically that help her got rid of her APO, Alzheimer's genes, and she lost 40 pounds and felt 20 years younger. And all he did was buy her epigenetic testing, put her on the same kind of program that you're talking about, just a different way.
yeah,
He didn't talk about food sensitivity, but so my audience knows that the programs that I bring them or the guests that I bring them is all in this new world of health span and what you can do to improve your health span. In fact, I went and I signed up for hyperbaric oxygen therapy because I had someone come on and talk about how great that is. So, I do the things. I'm thinking, I can't be talking to these people and not doing all the things that they're suggesting. 'Cause what's the point, right? So, yes,
that
I'll
makes you.
definitely get myself
That
tested.
I'm sure that's why your audience loves you, because you're authentic and you're walking the talk. You gotta do it. So good on you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, listen, this has been a very interesting conversation. Today, we're talking about the importance of food sensitivity testing to uncover hidden healing opportunities. And listen, that was our topic, and Reed delivered on that topic. So it's amazing. So head over. If you missed anything, you can head over to the show page, which is myhelps.us. You will see a little summary of my conversation with Reed that highlights the important things that he talked about. I would also link out to his um, website and also find that link for you on Instagram so that you can follow him and you can get some information. And if you want to sign up for his course, then you also head on the website and maybe it could be a great career change for you. Or you might just need it to do what I'm going to do and find out my food sensitivity because we all have it. It's great to know. So again, thank you, Reed, for coming on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. As we wrap up, any last words?
Just get up every day and try to find a state of gratitude. Be thankful for something. You're still breathing. A lot of people, I think about 1 million people die every night. So, you're one of the ones that didn't. You got a good chance to do something useful. Be good to people. Treat them the way you want to be treated. And I got a lot of things to say, but yeah, just I think that our point of view and the way you wake up and view the world, you got to look at the world as a cup half full, and
And that,
maybe you
right.
will run it over one day. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. Wisdom. Yes. Wisdom as we end up. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so you can transform your life. We were talking to Reed Davis. Go ahead and check him out at fdntraining.com. And if you found this episode inspirational, definitely share it to someone that you think might learn from this message. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Reed. Until next time, namaste.
Bye, Myrna.